Good morning. This morning we're going to look at reconciliations, our creditors and the statement, as well as our debtors control and debtors list. And then if we have time, we will look at the age analysis, how to prepare an age analysis. I don't think they will ask it, but it's always good to know how it works. So there's a lot of different questions on those 2 pages that you got. The one we're going to start with is the one 4.2, the creditors reconciliation. It's just next to question 1. You see that one, a statement from Cairo Suppliers. So this is the one that we'll start with. Just before we start, remember, we have different reconciliations. We have the creditors reconciliation, where if we buy something on credit from somebody, they will send us a statement. Am I right? And now we have to check our statement, our creditors ledger, with the statement that we received from our creditors. For them, we are debtors. All right. So there's 2 ways in which I ask it. The one is they give you the creditors ledger, and they give you the statement from the creditor, which is a debtor statement. Am I right? So we must think of it. If we have a debit in our books, it will be a credit in their books. It's the same as bank statement. The bank sends us a statement from their point of view. So if they sell something to us, it will be in the debit column. And if we pay them, it will be in the credit column, but in the creditors ledger, it will be in our debit side. The other way is, which they normally ask, is they give it to you like this. They say to you, our creditors ledger has a balance of 7,910, and the statement that we received from them is 11,390. When they ask it like this, it's very important to know what is our business name and what is their business's name. And then when we read the transaction, we change the names with us and them. Then you will see it's actually much easier. So let's look at it. They say, a statement received from creditor Cairo Suppliers reflects that Ace Traders owes them 11,390. So who are we? We are Ace Traders. Am I right? And creditor Cairo Suppliers are them. So now if we read the transaction, it will actually become much easier. So let's look at number 1. They say, and I always tell my kids, everywhere where you see Ace Traders, you scratch it out and you write us. And where you see Cairo Suppliers, you write them. So if we look at this question, they say, an EFT for 3,000 Rand issued by us had not been recorded in the statement received from them. So now it's easy. They didn't record the payment, so what must we do? A payment must be subtracted, am I right? And that was 3,000. So in our creditor statement, we must subtract 3,000 Rand because they didn't subtract the, I just want to do this, number 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 2. The EFO in settlement of the January account was not received by them within 7 days. Therefore, the discount of 500 Rand recorded by us in the creditor's ledger must be cancelled. So what did we do? We subtracted discount, which we were not supposed to. So how will we correct that? We will add the 500 Rand to our balance. We will add the 500 Rand to our balance. Number 3, returns recorded as 810 in the creditor's ledger by us were recorded as 900 Rand in the statement from them. And then they say they had miscalculated, Ace Traders, sorry, us, we had miscalculated the cost of goods. So we made the error. Now we must think carefully. We recorded a minus 810 Rand. And we were supposed to minus 900 Rand. So how will we correct that? We will subtract another 90 rand. So we will subtract another 90 rand. Number 4, an invoice received from them was correctly recorded as 7,700 rand by us. However, in the statement received from them, it was incorrectly recorded as 770. And an invoice is an increase. All right. So they just added 770 and they were supposed to add 7,700. So they still need to add another 6,930. So they must add another 6,930. And number 5, an invoice for 3,500. An invoice is an plus. Am I right? Received from them was incorrectly recorded as a credit note by us. So what did we do? We subtracted the 3,500 and we were supposed to add. So this is a double entry. So we must add it twice. So we must add 7,500. We must add 7,500 rand. So we must do it twice. Because if you only do the 3,500, what happens? You only cancel the entry. Am I right? If you think of this, if you write 3,500 here, and it's supposed to be there. If I write it on the credit side, 3,500, what do I do now? I just cancel the entry. So I must make another entry to correct the error. All right? So that will if you add those up, then you will get, yes, 7,000, not 7,500, sorry. I just wanted to check if you're awake. All right, I see some of you are. So that will give you a total of 15,320. And that side, 15,320. So it balances. There's 2 of the creditors reconciliations. I'm going to do both of them. The other one is number 3, question 3 on the other page. Are there any questions on this one? Everybody happy with this one? So let's look at the question 3, the creditors reconciliation on the other page. They say KZ stores purchase goods on credit from Valley. So we are, who are we? KZ, am I right? And Valley Limited are them, all right? So number 1, they say the bookkeeper, Litsi, says it's not necessary for her to prepare a creditor's reconciliation statement because the creditors send monthly statements to the business anyway. What would you say to her? State 2 points. So she said it's not necessary to do this because they send us a statement. So why do we have to check it? And what will your answer be then? Why do we do the creditors reconciliation? What did we just do? We corrected errors. Am I right? We made sure that all our payments are reflected on the statement. So to complete our ledger accounts, it is an internal control measure where we check our books with an external document. The statement is an external document, so we can check whether they and us, if we all have the same entries, if everything compares. So we have an external document that we compare it to. All right. Then they say in the account of Valley Limited, in the creditors ledger, they say we owed them 112,820. And according to the statement that we received, 182,150. 50. So we can see there's a big difference. There is a big difference. So there was 8 A, B, C, D, E, F, H. All right. Number one, they did do on the answer book, but let's look at it. They say a payment by us was omitted from the ledger and the statement. So a payment must be subtracted from both, and that was 9,000. So we minus 9,000 in the ledger and in the statement. So we must subtract it from both. Number B, an invoice for goods bought for 87,500 rand was reflected on the statement from them, but was not recorded by us. So we have to add 87,500. We have to add 87,500. All right. Number C, an invoice for 28,000 received from them was correctly recorded by us. The statement of the account reflects this as 20,800. So they added only 20,800 and they were supposed to add 28,000. So they will have to add another 7,200. They will have to add another 7,200. Number D, KZ Stores, we had correctly recorded discount of 1,400 for early payment. This has not been reflected on the statement from Valley Limited. So discount decreases our account, so they didn't do it, so they have to subtract another 1,400 rand. They have to subtract another 1,400. Number E, the statement reflects interest of 630 rand on the overdue account. Valley Limited, in other words, they acknowledged that an error had been made and promised to reverse the entry in the October statement. So they added interest, which they were not supposed to do, so they have to subtract it. Are we going to do it twice? Or only once? Only once, because it must just be cancelled. It's not that it was on the wrong side. So we must just cancel the interest, so they have to subtract 630. Number F, a debit note. When do we issue a debit note? When we return. All right. So that means that was a minus 2,100 rand. Issued to Value CC was incorrectly recorded in the account of Valley Limited by us. So what did we do? We subtracted 2,100, which we were not supposed to. So we have to add the 2,100. So we just add, and it's not the double. It's not like the previous one. They said it was purchases. They just said it was for somebody else, for another business. So we just have to add the 2,100. Number G, a credit note for 5250 received from them for goods returned was incorrectly recorded as an invoice by us. So what did we do? We added the 5250 and we were supposed to subtract it. So we have to subtract 10,500. We have to subtract 10,500 rand. And then the last one, goods purchased from them for 4,600 were recorded by us. The statement from them is dated 25 September. So they still have to add the 4,600. They still have to add the 4,600. And that will give you a total of 182,920. When you receive the statement the following month, let's say this was for May. When we received the statement from Valley, the next month, what will the opening balance on that statement be? This one? No, it will be that one. Why? Because you must let them know there's errors on there. There was errors. And now they have to correct them on their statement. Am I right? And when we receive the new statement, we must check whether they did correct all those entries. It's the same as a bank statement. Remember the bank statement, the end one, they will start with that balance. If there's mistakes, if there was outstanding deposits and outstanding EFTs, we would check to see whether that EFTs and deposits appear. And the same year, so their statement will start with that, and you will check if those corrections were made. All right. Then they say refer to information B. They say an invoice for goods bought for 87,500 was not recorded by us. And then they say refer to information B. As the internal auditor of KZ Stores, you have detected that only 50,000 rand of these goods were entered into the stock records by the storeman. So they bought 87,500, but only 50,000 rand was recorded. And they say the remaining goods were ordered privately by J. van Wyk, an employee in charge of creditors. Explain what action should be taken against Van Wyk. State 2 points. So normally the first answer will be firing. Firing. All right. So that will be 1 mark, only 1 mark. You must say a little, especially when they say 2 and it counts 4 marks. Normally you must write a little bit more, not just 1 or 2 answers. So when we work with that, division of duties is always a good answer. But we can't just say division of duties. We must explain what do we mean by that. Because we can have division of duties in our bank recon question, but we can also have it in our stock question. So how will division of duties, what will that mean regarding our stock? If we say, yes? Yes. One must order the stock and somebody else must collect them. All right. The same person mustn't do everything regarding stock. Regular stock takes. So we must check our records, our stock with our records to see whether there's stock missing. So regular stock takes will work. They also talk about rotation of duties. So let's say for this one, but I don't think that happens a lot. If somebody does the ordering, and now every month somebody else will do the ordering, it will. I think that will be a mess. But they have that one person mustn't always do the same thing for a long time. Rotate them so that they can. It's nearly the same as division of duties, so that they can check each other. All right, and then I was now with question number 2. The first one was, what action should be taken against him? The second one was, how can you prevent it? That is division of duties, rotation of duties, regular stock take. The actions that we must take, we can't just say firing. He must have a disciplinary hearing, and the case must be investigated. And he can only be fired once he was found guilty. All right? So investigating, ask him to pay back the money, negotiate with him that you can maybe subtract that purchases from his salaries over a few months if you think he's a good worker. It was just a once-off thing. If it was really they said in the memo, you can't just say warn him because it was a big figure. It's a large amount. So you can't just say warn him because of the large amount. So he must know that what he did was wrong, and something will happen to him. All right, so that was a creditors reconciliation. Any question on those, something you're not sure of? Now we're going to look at another reconciliation. This is the one. Remember we said here we had an external document and we compare the two. Now, this one will be the question, there's only, it says reconciliation. There's a debtors control and debtors list, and a creditors control and creditors list. Now, I think I must also do it like that. In the textbooks, normally they say, draw the correct debtors control and the correct creditors control and the correct debtors list and the correct creditors list. But I see these days they don't ask the debtors control account anymore. I can't remember when last did I see they ask the learners to do a T account in a paper. So what they normally do, and I think I'm going to do it just like that. They will say, calculate the correct balance of the debtors control and draw the correct list. So let's quickly do the list. So our debtors control, the balance is 8520. 8520. And then our list, we have Collins, which owes us 4120. We have Zimba. He has a credit of 350, so we write minus 350. Pillay, 3,400. Stals, which is 600. Schultz, which is 820. Sanders, R50, and Allen, which is 120. That is our debtors. Then our creditors control, the balance of our creditors control was 15,140. 15,140, and our creditors is AV Supplies, 2330. We have QA Wholesalers, 1450. Basco, 9380. Zimba, 710. Starbuck, 1,110, and Chinlu, 660. What do we note about Zimba? We see that we have a debtors account for them and a creditors. What does that mean? We sell to them and we buy from them. All right. So when we sell to them, it will be in our debtors ledger, and when we buy from them, it will be in the creditors ledger. Now, just before we start with the question, I quickly want to show you something. Let's say we have our DJ, and our DJ has a sales column, and we only sell on to 3 debtors, A, B, and C. For A, we sold 100 Rand, B, 200 Rand, and C, 300 Rand. So the total will be 600 Rand. So if we post a DJ, how do we post it? The 600 goes where? To my debtors control and sales. Am I right? So that one goes to debtors control and to my sales. And what happens to these 3 figures? They go to the debtors ledger. Am I right? So we will post it to A, B, and C, the 3 debtors. Now all the errors. If I say to you, this total was added up wrongly, that means only my debtors control will be wrong, because we don't post the total to the debtors ledger. It only goes to my general ledger. Am I right? So it only goes to debtors control. If I say to you, transaction was not recorded, this one was not recorded, what does that mean? It means my total will be wrong. Am I right? So debtors control will be wrong, but A's account will be wrong, so my list will be wrong. My debtors ledger will be wrong. All right? If I say to you, the 100 rand was not posted, will it influence my control? Remember, not posted. It was recorded in the DJ, but it was not posted. Will it influence my debtors control? No, because the total will be fine. Am I right? But my debtors ledger will be wrong. And if I wrote the 100 as 200 rand, it will be both. Am I right? Because my total will be wrong and my debtors ledger will be wrong. So if we take that into account and we do the transactions, let's just keep that in mind, and we can see if we can use that to correct these errors. Now the first one, they say, the balance of Zimba Stores account in the debtors ledger must be transferred to the account in the creditors ledger. So this is an entry that I must make. Remember, the first question I ask myself always is, does it influence my debtors control, or does it influence the list, or does it influence both? And in this case, there must be an entry made, so that will influence both. Am I right? Now let's see, Zimba has a credit balance, and they say that credit balance in the debtors ledger must be transferred to the creditors ledger. So how will we take it out? If that's on the credit side, we will debit, we will add the 350, am I right? And if we add 350, we know we must also add 350 to our debtors control, right? If I add it here, I must add it there. If I subtract here, it must subtract it there. So if I add it here, what must we do here with Zimba? Add or subtract? I see a subtract. What do you say? What? Subtract. Remember, if I debit my debtors control, what must I do with creditors control? Credit. Am I right? And if my creditors control is credited, it must be added. It must be added. That's one of those transactions they like to ask in the balance sheet. Remember that. A debtors must be, with a credit balance, must be transferred. If I add it in the top part of my balance sheet and I subtract it in the bottom part, my balance sheet won't balance. So it's add, or subtract, subtract. So if I add it here, I must also add it to my creditors control, because it must be in both. Number 2, stock valued at 600 rand was returned by Schultz. This has been wrongly posted to the account of Stahls. So one returned, but I recorded in that one. It will have no influence on my debtors control. It will be only on the list. So we returned, Schultz returned 600 rand. So for Schultz, we must subtract 600 rand. And we subtracted it from Stahls. So Stahls, we have to add 600 rand. We have to add the 600 rand. Number 3, merchandise was sold on credit for 540 rand. The transaction has not been recorded. It has not been recorded. It means both of them are wrong. And sales increases my balance. So for Alan, we have to add 540. And if we add it there, we must also add it to my debtors control. Number 4, an invoice for goods purchased from Basco Traders was entered in the creditors journal as 4320 instead of 3420. So what did we do? We entered that amount wrongly, so that means my control will be wrong and the list will be wrong. All right, now we must think carefully. An invoice, we wrote the invoice as 4320, so we added 4320 to his account. we were only supposed to add 3420. So we added too much. Am I right? So we have to subtract. And how much will we subtract? 900. So that was Basco traders. So for Basco, we will subtract 900. And for our creditors control, we will subtract 900. Number 5, Chin Lu supplies account had been settled by EFT for 600 Rand. Now Chin Lu, we owed them 660. It was settled. So that means how much must this account be debited with? The whole figure, 660. But they say it has been correctly recorded in the CPJ. The posting to the account has not been done. So we recorded it in the CPJ, so my control is correct. But it was not recorded in his account. So remember, because it was settled, it is supposed to be the whole 660, not just the payment. That means we received discount. All right, so the whole figure must be subtracted. Number 6, stock sold to Collins was incorrectly posted to the account of Pillay. So again, A we posted to B, so it's no influence on our control. It's only on the debtors ledger. So we sold to Collins. So Collins, we have to add 1,230, and we recorded it in Pillay's account. So in Pillay, we have to subtract the 1,230 Rand. Number 7, the entry to charge Collins 120 interest had not been made, so we didn't record the A, so control and list will be wrong. Am I right? And the interest is 120 Rand, so Collins, we have to add the 120, and debtors control, we have to add 120. The count of Sanders must be written off. It was not recorded, so both, if we write it off, we have to credit him with 50, and we also have to subtract it from our debtors control, because both of them are wrong. The creditors journal was overcast too much by 70 Rand. So I made an error with the total, so my control will be wrong. Okay, now we must think carefully. A creditors journal, it increases my creditors control the balance, am I right? So if it was too much, I have to subtract 70 Rand. We have to subtract 70 Rand. Let's say they said this creditors allowance journal, the CAJ, was overcast. What will you do then? We also want to subtract, but now we must think. So we subtracted too much, so therefore we must add. It's the opposite of the CJ. All right? So just make sure about that. Then number 10, no entry has been made. No entry, so that means both of them are wrong. Of merchant returned to AV supplies 550. So AV, we returned stock, we must subtract 550. Therefore, we must subtract 550 from our creditors control. A sales return of 120 was correctly in the DAJ. In other words, our journal, our control is correct. It's only the account of Alan which was wrong. Was entered in the DAJ, but when posting to his account, it was posted as sales. So we added the 120 and we were supposed to subtract. So we will subtract 240 Rand. We will subtract 240 Rand. And then the last one, a payment for 340 Rand issued to Starbuck and Key was correctly recorded in the payments CPJ, so our control is fine because we correctly recorded. But to his account, it was only it was posted as 430. So what did we do? We subtracted 430, and we were only supposed to subtract 340. So we have to add 90 Rand, 90 Rand, and that was for Starbuck and Key. So we have to add 90 Rand. So if we then look at our debtors list, our debtors control, that total should be 9480. Collins will be 5470. Zimba will be nothing. Pele 2170. Stalls 1200. 220. 0 and 420. And that total will also be 9480. Our creditors control will be 13970. Then 1780. This one stayed the same, 1450. 8480. 1060. 1200. And that one is 0. And the total will also be 13970. All right, questions? Nothing. Last one, the age analysis. It seems like we won't have time to draw up the age analysis, but we can look at the question. That is the 1.3, where they say you are provided with a debtor's age analysis. Just before we start with the question, what is an age analysis? If we look at our debtor's ledger, it tells us Collins owes us 5,470. And it says Pele owes us 2,170. And the debtors owe us 9,480. But it doesn't tell us for how long have they been owing us that money. So a debtor's age analysis tells us for how long did he owe us that money. All right. So it splits what happens when you draw up the age analysis. You put every transaction that happens in the month that it happens, except for the payments. If you receive a payment, you always subtract it from the oldest debt. So let's say somebody owes you 1,000 rand for February, 1,000 rand for March, and 1,000 rand for April. So that means in his age analysis, the current figure will be 1,000 rand, 30 days will be 1,000 rand, and 60 days will be 1,000 rand. Am I right? So now he comes and pays us 500 rand. We won't subtract the 500 rand from April's sales. From April. We will subtract it from the earliest date. So in other words, from February. And that is how our age analysis is done. So if they give you an age analysis, it normally tells you two things. The first one, there's normally a limit on that. A limit means that is how much that person may owe you. He cannot buy for more than, if his limit is 10,000, he cannot owe you more than 10,000. Will all the people have the same limit? Normally not. All right, you work with your debtors, you see who of them pay you regularly, who buys a lot. That person will have a higher limit than somebody that only buys a little and doesn't have a big salary or whatever. All right. And the second thing is, normally we want our debtors to pay us within 30 days. So that means if I sell to him in February, he must pay that money before the end of March. Not the end of February, end of March. All right. So those are the two things. What is the limit and what is the terms? We talk about the terms. How long may he owe you that money? And we want that terms to be 30 days. All right. Now, if you look at this age analysis, the question says, identify two different problems by the age analysis and quote evidence and figures. So the first thing we always look is at the limits. So if we look at the limits, we see Dreyer, 5,000, but he owes us 1,100. Masala, 3,500, but he owes us 4,900. So he's over the limit. So that's our first problem. Masala owes us more than the limit, and you must give figures. 4,900 and his limit is 3,500. Roos owes us 2,350, the limit is 1,500. That's a problem. And Van Zyl, 2,700 and his limit is 2,000. So those three, you can use either one of those three. They are over the limits. And the other one that we check is for the 60 and 90 plus days. So we say Dreyer owes us 600 rand for 60 days. Masala 1,400 and 1,900 for 60 and 90 days. Roos 1,600 for 60 days. Dule 1,500 for 60 and 60 plus days. So the one question they can also ask you, do the business have control over their debtors? Do they control their debtors? And according to this, not. Am I right? Now, so that, and then they ask internal control measures to correct the problem. So the one of more than a limit, you must check each debtor before you sell to see whether they, these days with computers, with the programs, it's easy. If you go and you buy more than the limit, they won't allow you because they set it on the on your account. All right, but they assume that you must check to see whether this person owes you money, and if he owes you more than the limit, you must not sell to him. All right, and the other ones where they take longer, what can we do? That's a normal answers, where we say interest on overdue accounts, give them discount if they settle their accounts, send out your accounts promptly. If I sell on February, my statements for February only goes out in April. They won't pay you in March. So your accounts must go out on time. And also SMS reminders to settle their accounts. All right. There's just one thing that I also want to show you. Sometimes they will say, what is the percentage of the debtors that keep by the rules, the terms of 30 days. So how do you calculate that? What we do is we take the total of current. Remember, current is this month. So the current part is 2,700. And the 30 days is 2,850. So we add those two figures and we divide that by the total debt, 12,550, and we calculate the percentage. So the 2,700 plus 2,850 is 5,550 divided by 12,550, and that gives you 44.2%. So only 44.2% of the debtors keep by the rules. Those that don't will be how much? 55.8. What we can do is we can do the other calculation, the 60 days, the 4,600, and the 2,400 divided by the sales, the total, 12,550 times 100. So that's 7,000. So 7,000 divided by 12,550 times 100, 55.8%. How many of the debtors do not abide by the rules? All right? Or they can ask you which of these debtors you will increase their limit. And if you look at those, whose will you increase? I only see one. Van Zyl, all right, because he has no outstanding debt for longer than 30 days. He only has current, so that means he pays his account promptly, so we can maybe sell more to them. Or whose limit will you decrease? That will be those guys that owe you for longer than 90 days. So that's a type of questions that they ask with the debtors age analysis, with the age analysis. All right, any questions? Next week, we have 2 weeks before the exams. What must we do next week? income statement, balance sheet, adjustments. What do you want? Adjustments. Cash flow we'll do the next week. All right, we'll do the next week. We'll do cash flow then. Next week we'll do a short income statement and balance sheet. And then the next week we'll do cash flow and maybe quickly again inventory, because that's also important for paper 1. All right. Okay, then I'll see you next week.